Do we really need a new introduction to Sonic the Hedgehog at this point? I think we all know who the hell he is. My god, though, has the series gone downhill. And aren't you guys just so sick of that rant? But it's still so true. You want to know what one of the main things that actually set Sonic apart from Mario way back in the day, besides, the gameplay, in the Super Nintendo and Genesis days, it actually seemed like there was something to Sonic the Hedgehog. Not that there was nothing to Mario, but it seemed like in Sonic the Hedgehog that there was an actual world going on, that between Game 1 and 2, things happened and it was not just a complete change in setting. There was this potential for continuity, which did kind of exist. Of course, then no one could decide on what direction to take the hog. He formed a rock band, started doing bizarre-ass Aladdin and Pirates of the Caribbean inspired titles, like some bad daytime 80s cartoon. It was just going in every direction. The werehog was introduced, Big the Cat's fat ass was introduced, and you had no idea what you were getting into anymore when you decided to actually buy a Sonic the Hedgehog title or watch a Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. The series just spun out of control completely. 2010 was Sega's attempt to revitalize the franchise. Hilariously, the unplayable piece of crap that was Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 was still one of Sega's best-selling titles, but in regards to the long-term fandom that actually followed stuff, they were trying to actually sort of set things straight. Storyline-wise, there was Sonic the Hedgehog 4, which is bringing us back to the 2D gameplay. Not that there were no 2D games that existed, there was always the Sonic Advance series and the Sonic Rush series, but Sonic 4 brought it back to consoles and tried to revitalize that old style of level design. Now, it failed and kind of sucked due to rigid shit controls, but then we all still collected the Chaos Emeralds and pretended to love the thing like it was Spinball all over again. We'll all hate this game in about 3 years. Believe you me. But then there's Sonic Colors. Mario Galaxy riffed slightly, at least in terms of the atmosphere, but it's Sega's attempt at creating a game for the long-term fans that enjoy the fast running and none of the friend bullshit. And you know what though? This game is great. In a move that's somewhere between brilliance and stupidly obvious, Sega took Sonic Unleashed, maintained the same quality of control, axed the werehog bullshit, axed the minigame button-pressing tornado-flying bullshit, my god was that bad, axed the town-crawling hub bullshit, and gave us a map screen like in Super Mario World. Pick and choose your level, and there you go. The platforming is spot on with a great mix of fast running that looks fantastic, to more platforming segments where you're jumping up and around enemies, flinging left and right between tracks that you grind on, and everything else that you have come to love in these 3D Sonic the Hedgehog games. The physics work great, and it never feels like the game is moving too slow, while at the same time, it never feels too much like you're watching a movie. The appeal of Sonic is definitely partially in the aesthetic, like playing a rock band song, where part of the reason you enjoy it is because you like all of the tunes, and this is similar to how you enjoy watching the scenery fling past you here. But the mix is spot on in allowing just the right amount of control over everything that you do. It is definitely a balancing act that Sega had to perform, and they definitely succeeded. The storyline sits somewhere between so useless that it's barely even worth talking about to goofball crap that is vaguely amusing, but just barely. It's the kind of humor that would probably be at home in the old Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, but then we remember that cartoon was garbage. Eggman's got this futuristic amusement part going on, and it looks like he's enslaved alien wisps for his enjoyment. Oh, how cruel. Sonic's all about saving the little guys while making fun of the enemies that he defeats. Not really a bad idea overall, but if I were in charge, I'd at least give the writing another revision or 3 so that it could really be punched up. It's just kind of dull in a way. Back to what actually matters. The level design is spectacular. Beginning levels are constructed best for easy speed running and are great once you get the controls down. Later levels require a more detailed level of precision, and it is a hell of a lot of fun. You also have this new power-up system. You know these wisps I was talking about saving? Well, there's a good handful of them, and they all give you an interesting mix of powers that enhance the gameplay, allowing you to do simple things such as move around the world in new fashions without being a detriment to the gameplay. There is no Big the Cat fat ass walking around crap. The power-ups subtly enhance the gameplay without taking it over. The entire concept behind it all, a little goofy, but I did really enjoy it. I have a couple of nitpicks beyond the mediocre story, which, like I said, doesn't even matter that much. Colors has you doing this thing once again where you're running forward kind of on 3 separate rails or so, and you quickly hop between those rails to dodge enemies. When I played Unleashed on the 360, this was done by pressing R and L. On the classic controller, you have to slap the left analog stick to the left or right as you're pushing forward at the same time. It's kind of awkward and not as graceful. Also, I wanted just one more world, one more set of stages, this time for the hardcore gamers. Colors has less level memorization, which is ultimately probably a good thing, and where in Unleashed, if you screwed up, you'd fall off the level and die. Colors more just shames you by slamming you into a wall, stopping you in your tracks more often than not. This is probably for the best, like I said, all in all, but I would have loved just one set of stages that ramped up the brutality to match that of previous games, just so I could have something that I would really feel awesome about after finally managing to master it. It does feel like Colors should have been just a tad bit longer. Sonic Colors features great aesthetics. For the most part, I love the soundtrack, and while I was a little worried that Sega would skimp on the detail and flashiness in the backgrounds as traditionally we have in a Sonic the Hedgehog game, being that this is on the Wii and that's just something that a lot of developers do, no, it is all still here and it looks wonderful. There was no half-assing that took place. Sonic Colors is great. 3D Sonic provides a ton of video gaming innovation that is strangely almost never recognized. Storyline wise, this is not one to show off to your dad to prove that you're a real man that doesn't play kiddie bullshit, but in regards to everything else, it's a killer title and a great game to add to your collection. While I'm not entirely happy that it's kind of short, as in about 7 hours, it does provide some good opportunity for mastery. If you've been waiting for a good 3D Sonic game, have fun. This game rocks. Sonic Colors for the Nintendo Wii receives a 9 out of 10.